Now, EU leaders are meeting for a summit today in Brussels, overshadowed by the conflict. Diplomats have been divided for several days now over the language used to describe the events in Gaza and in Israel, including a debate about whether to call for a humanitarian pause or indeed a ceasefire. Joining us to discuss is our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, tell us about these divisions within the European Union at the moment. Do we know which countries disagree with each other and if it might get ironed out today?
Well, it looks like it's going to get ironed out today. They seem to be settling on a formula now, which is humanitarian corridors and pauses from the shelling. Quite how it's going to work, we don't know yet what the plan is, whether it's going to be like every day there should be a pause so that a humanitarian corridor could be put into effect. We don't know what the details of it are. We don't know, of course, whether Israel is likely to approve it or not. But, you know, the EU wants to be seen to be on the same page and taking some sort of action. It looks like they're going to approach that. It's the EU. It's 27 countries. There are always or frequently divisions when they come to something that's as important as this. In a way, Ukraine was a bit of an exception because they managed to get unity very quickly, despite one or two members of the EU, like Hungary, for instance, who were opposed. But it's more the norm on issues like this for there to be divisions. It seems that the Spain, which holds the presidency at the moment, was looking for a ceasefire. That went against the views of many of those in the EU, including Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, who says that would be, in effect, denying Israel its right to self-defense. And that, I think, has been the essential issue during this debate. You know, how far do you go down the road of allowing or demanding that humanitarian rights be respected, and how much leeway do you give to Israel to conduct its self-defense? That seems to be been at the core of it, involving at one point a dispute between the president of the European Council, Charles Michel, and Ursula von der Leyen, who found themselves on different pages on specifically this issue. You know, how much attention to give to the humanitarian issue. Ursula von der Leyen went to Israel apparently without consulting Michel, which stirred things up even further. But now, at last, they do seem to be on the same page. They want humanitarian corridors to be established and pauses, the word they've chosen to use rather than windows, because they felt that pauses reflected the situation better. See, the semantics went on and on and on, but finally they've got there.
OK, so those are the diplomatic efforts at the European Union level at the moment. Meanwhile, in Washington, the US President Joe Biden has been talking about what America's vision in the longer term for the region might be. Here's a little of what he's had to say.
There's no going back to the status quo as it stood on October the 6th. That means ensuring Hamas can no longer terrorize Israel and use Palestinian civilians as human shields. It also means that when this crisis is over, there has to be a vision of what comes next. And in our view, it has to be a two-state solution. It means a concentrated effort from all the parties, Israelis, Palestinians, regional partners, global leaders, to put us on a path toward peace.
So, Rob, Joe Biden there talking about a two-state solution, but we know there's been no meaningful peace process for years. Surely a Palestinian state is very far off right now. What did you make of that language at this moment from Biden?
It's an important statement, I think, by Joe Biden, who wants to take things forward. He recognises that the United States has an opportunity to apply leverage with Israel once the dust settles. Of course, we don't know how the dust is going to settle. Things might be very much worse than they are now. Where will Hamas be after all this? Will it be strengthened? Will it be weakened? Will it exist at all? Will there have been a regional conflict? In which case, all talk of a two-state solution will presumably be off the table altogether. But I think he's looking at a possible opening here to revive the two-state solution, which might, or probably almost certainly, would have to include the present government led by Benjamin Netanyahu disappearing off the scene, perhaps in elections next year. very unpopular in Israel at the moment, blamed by the vast majority of people in the country for getting Israel into this predicament. So he's saying, look, we have to look ahead. We have to look to get something. We have, from this chaos, from this horror, we have to find something. And it has to address the issue of the Palestinians as well as the Israelis. And the only really option on the table is the two-state solution. Nobody's come up with anything better than that. It's been put pretty much in the dustbin by Benjamin Netanyahu in particular over the last 20 years or so, that he has been at the head of Israeli politics. But it hasn't died completely. And he is saying now, look, we start looking at it again. All the players have got to start looking at it. We cannot accept something like this happening again and again and again.